Today we are broadcasting on 6 different platforms, including vContacta, YouTube, Solar Group resources, and our investment project resources, so you can watch wherever is convenient for you. Wherever you are watching, please like and share these broadcasts so that as many people as possible can learn about our news today and participate in the investment projects we are implementing together with you. By sharing, you help us reach a wider audience, allowing more individuals to become informed about the latest developments and opportunities. These projects are designed to offer significant benefits and returns, and your involvement is crucial to their success. So, at this very moment, I am currently checking the broadcast. Today we are handling everything ourselves from my computer, so I hope everything is running smoothly and well. Therefore, we need your feedback. Well then, let's get started. My name is Pavel Filipov, and next to me are Sergey, Semyonov, and Fyodor Konstantinov. Today we will be discussing what is happening at Solar Group and the investment projects we are promoting. First of all, of course, today we will talk about the new generation airships, because in just a couple of weeks we will be launching this project. And some might think, what do you mean by launch? Haven't you been working on it for a while? We've seen and heard about it somewhere, and some have even invested. We are currently at the pre-launch stage, a sort of pre-launch phase, as we complete the preparation for this project, which has been ongoing for more than 3 years. However, this final part of the preparation requires direct investments, and as part of completing the preparation, we have already successfully attracted some investments for this project. You could say that because today our counter is supposed to tick over to $2.5 million, which is exactly the amount that was announced as the goal during the pre-launch. Thank you all very much for supporting the project so actively. Sergey Semyonov will provide more details about these financial results today. Sergey, I hand it over to you, our esteemed and respected colleague. Please tell us what we can be proud of today.
Today, our entire webinar will be divided into 2 parts. One part will cover the financial aspect, where I will talk about what we plan to do when we started all this, what we have actually achieved, and what we plan to do in the near future. My standard part, plus a second part on the technical implementation of the project. Accordingly, what we have done, what the company actually represents today, what agreements have been made with whom, what the team is like, what developments have been made, what experiments have been conducted, and what we plan to do and will accomplish in the coming year in numerous areas and dimensions. These are the 2 parts. I will start with my additional one, answers to questions. Yes, answers to questions. Yes, so I will begin with my part, as I am responsible for investments on my side. This part is usually not very interesting, but for me, it's like an integral part of my life. So accordingly, let me remind you a bit about how it all started. Approximately about 3 years ago, we initiated our journey into exploring the topic of airships. There were different teams, and we, so to speak, delved deeper and deeper into the topic. Then, in the summer, we got more actively involved, and I made a decision on the 27th, on July 27th, 2024, to simply create a chat in Telegram, where I gathered my friends, colleagues, like-minded people, and just announced, let's gather the first 100 people and start moving little by little, I publicly announced. Accordingly, literally 2 weeks later, we decided to hold the first, so to speak, presentation where we announced that we were preparing this project. I think this conference turned into a conference, even though we just wanted to make a small online announcement with you. But in the end, developers, potential partners, product creation partners, a large number of investors, new people, and our current people all came. Accordingly, in general, we consider this as a significant milestone, a kind of commencement around the 8th, August 8th, when we said that we were all beginning to prepare for the project launch. What do we have? It was announced at the beginning that for the pre-launch stage, we are setting the main goal at approximately $2.5 million. A completely new project from scratch. We didn't particularly carefully plan the timelines. Indeed, today it just so happened that we actually scheduled the webinar just a few days before this. And the amount was gathered today, literally just a few hours ago. Very recently indeed. And our webinar is about the fact that we are essentially finishing the pre-launch stage. Today we are indeed specifically announcing that we are in fact absolutely starting the project. Everything is set, the date is scheduled for the 4th, and what we currently have in terms of finances. So in fact, the company has received exactly $2.5 million, which is a significant milestone for the company. And it took approximately 6 months to be precise, if we count from August 8th, give or take a little. Considering the economic climate over the past half year, in terms of installments, this amounts to approximately $14 million, which is the total amount we have sold in installments. About 10% of this amount has already been cancelled, which is standard practice for installments. In total. Accordingly, this is the result that we, together with you and the Solar Group community, have created. For us, this is incredible confirmation that everything is working out and we are heading in the right direction. Speaking of the number of investors, as of today, right before the start, I checked, and we have approximately 4,192 actual investors in this project over the first 6 months, so to speak, of operation. Again, I want to draw your attention to this. Just imagine that you can really, truly, absolutely, completely in your mind at that particular stage, apart from the exact same conference and our sort of detailed visuals of precisely where we plan to go, there was absolutely nothing else at all. There was indeed a group of dedicated individuals that said we would take this on. And there were those who saw what we were doing, how we had been working for almost 8 years, or even more in some cases. Accordingly, the people who have joined us now, who have recently become part of our community, are quite literally taking us at our word in a manner that is both literal and figurative during this period of heightened uncertainty and potential risk. We mentioned and have previously stated and assured that for such people, for individuals such as these, we have the best entry conditions, unparalleled and optimal, and they will last for just 2 more weeks until the 4th, until March 4th, which is a significant deadline. The next stage, the first stage, we are changing the conditions by half, meaning we are reducing the discount by half.
But in other words, Sergey, let's discuss this, because we talked about it today. Not everyone fully understands what this means. It's important to clarify. We're talking about the average discount. Our average discount is 1,000 at the current stage, and it will be 500.
Yes, and the point is that each package has different discounts, but on average, everything will essentially change by half. So you will see now, when Fyodor explains what the company physically represents at the moment, this is the change in state that allows us to sell the same thing, but at a higher price. So what has actually happened exactly? With what specific purpose are we starting the first phase, and how will we proceed further? Firstly, we are moving to what seems like the second phase, but essentially it's the first phase. The company's launch begins. The initial goal will also be $2.5 million, because I think that the pre-launch itself, but still the amount will increase. The goal of the first phase is $2.5 to $5 million. Then we plan to change 2 to 3 phases per year, meaning each phase will last about 4 to 6 months. It will be, as we mentioned, tied to the amount, the timeline, and what we plan to accomplish, which we will detail further. At the same time, the phases will still be flexible. We reserve the right to ensure you don't have any disappointments, so we are stating up front that we set an approximate range for the timeline, the amount, and what is accomplished, and we combine them and move forward accordingly. To elaborate, that's the main point. I also want to say that we are working on the project more and more in depth. Essentially, the task of the pre-launch phase was to assemble the team, write an implementation plan, and so on. Additionally, to create some marketing materials. And for those who are with us live right now, we decided to, let's say, have a sort of small unofficial premiere of our main project. We are creating a series of high quality, in-depth videos that illustrate and create a picture of what we are doing, where we are going, and why. They will soon be translated and dubbed with specific voiceovers with great care and precision. We are excited to present to you an almost finished video, after which Fyodor will talk about the technical aspects of the vision we are pursuing. Following this presentation, Fyodor will provide an in-depth discussion on the technical aspects and the vision we are passionately pursuing. Let's take a look.
Before we play the video, I would like to ask a clarifying question. You mentioned a change in the phase, so does that mean our timeline remains the same, 3 to 5 years for the entire project, with several phases per month, and annually it will change approximately like that? The question is, what influences the change of phase? What factors, perhaps even more, whether for a day or even several?
I already mentioned, yes, it's the timeline, the amount of investment, and what we plan to accomplish within that time and budget. You know, Pasha, there's an important thing I wanted to pause on. In the initial stage, we are planning to establish a somewhat unique and distinct legal framework that involves the participation of international entities, as the preliminary launch phase has indicated to us that there are several substantial and significant partners who are interested in engaging with us as clients, as well as investors for AERONOVA, certainly need a certain entry model. Fyodor has indeed mentioned this several times in webinars and discussions, that perhaps the crowd phase here will be shorter, and this is increasingly starting to become more apparent, but we must absolutely be prepared for it as well. You just need to know that essentially legally we will be becoming an international company, which is in essence an important point.
In order to conduct activities worldwide, is it possible that the main and primary company might not be registered in Russia?
Yes, but everything will definitely be preserved, meaning everything will be as we discussed.
So why is this being done? Again, is it being done to obtain licenses?
Yes, so that we can be represented in other countries, to have access to large foreign funds, to implement projects there, participate in various programs, obtain licenses, and so on.
So this will be in 2025. This structure will already be, and you also mentioned that the crowd might be short, meaning that a large number of major investors are knocking now, and will there be some kind of offer for them at all?
Yes, we will do it later, but there is an understanding that to talk with the major ones, we need to, well, in short, you can't immediately, when you're small, talk to someone very big. You grow up and talk to someone who is also a bit bigger. You grow a bit more and you talk to those, but the interest from more, well, serious players, large structures, which we are not yet able to fully engage with, we are kind of ready for cheap. We are not participating yet, but that's likely how the outcomes will be.
Can we somehow guarantee to people now that if a major investor comes in, then if people don't want
to exit, they will remain in the company, not that a major one
came and bought everything that is there?
No, that's not possible. It's clear that it's not possible. This is about freedom.
Yes, the remaining funds, that is, it's precisely the necessary and additional financing to exactly complete. So, okay, regarding finances, it seems like everything is adequately covered. As far as I can tell from my side, I'd like to add that you mentioned approximately 6 months, but actually it's about 5 because it's roughly mid-August and now it's mid-February, so it turns out to be about 5 months. So it turns out that in 5 months, about 5,000 investors joined, which means an average of 1,000 people per month are joining. These are very good rates for a project that is just now kind of starting.
Well, yes, many compare it to our current large project, which is already 7 years old, where a huge enterprise has been built and is being launched. It's different, but I think it's very impressive.
Yes, the results are very good. And I would like to say a huge thank you to all the people who supported the project. I am sure that as soon as the first devices take off, which will happen very soon, today, Fyodor, I think, will talk about it. But I think the pace will be completely different if people are already this interested now. Well, I'll play the video now. Please write if everything is clearly visible and audible. So, let's watch the video. Well, we've watched the video. I hope you liked it. Sergey, you mentioned it will still be refined.
Yes, in some way, yes, it will certainly have voiceovers in various different languages, emotionally and with emotion, of course. Next, there will be a series of very refined, high-quality videos with thoroughly and meticulously detailed, in-depth and exhaustive answers to the main technical questions, which, in your opinion, should create the right picture of where we are going and with what detailed qualities we are going. So the next question is, when you write in the chats, how do you like the video? We are just very curious because this is the first attempt. We like it, and I hope you like it too.
Like the broadcast you are currently watching, which is part of our ongoing series aimed at providing insightful content, I'm sure you enjoyed the video because it offers a unique perspective and valuable information. It will soon be available online on our official website and social media platforms, allowing you to access it. Well, Fyodor, the next question will be for you. We were just talking about financial results, and I would like to ask again a question that I regularly ask in all broadcasts. What has been done? Tell us how the pre-launch stage is almost complete. Essentially, what do we have today almost?
And what will happen next? Greetings to everyone once again, to the audience. We are excited to share that essentially we have 750 square meters of equipped office space in our state-of-the-art facility, where we have 35 highly skilled and dedicated employees exclusively with engineering and technical qualifications who are passionately working on the project. They all have equipped workspaces, including computer stations, server stations, and laboratories. Currently, 35 people are already working in the engineering center, and the staff will actually be further strengthened in the near future. 35 in the engineering center, 45 are working on the project overall in total. More engineers, designers, and analysts will be hired soon to enhance our capabilities in various departments, including but not limited to engineering, design, and analysis. In fact, there are also 600 square meters of production facilities, which are used for various purposes, including maintenance and assembly, as well as storage of essential equipment and materials. Those are the areas you might have seen in the video, episode 3, about helicopters, about Ruslan. Those are the areas Ruslan came to us with, where his team is located, including highly skilled and experienced engineers, technologists, machinists, and also designers, all of whom have an aviation education and background in the field of aviation, specialized in various aspects of aircraft design and manufacturing, with a strong focus on innovation and quality. These facilities are temporary in the project. It's good that we have them and we don't have to spend on construction, rent, and so on right now. In general, we have acquired facilities with equipment. We have already purchased additional equipment there thanks to the investments that came in at the right time. We bought a reaming machine, a lathe, and a turning milling machine with an additional 5th axis. They are fully paid for and currently on their way to us in Russia. What else have we actually accomplished in terms of our goals? In fact, this is AERONOVA, 35 people, a large, well-equipped office, a laboratory, and 600 square meters of production space.
Plus the partners we are already collaborating with and establishing connections.
And this is no longer AERONOVA, this is cooperation.
Our partners, how to get in touch.
Yes, cooperation, as Sergey mentioned. We even had representatives from the Moscow Aviation Institute and the Experimental Student Design Bureau speak at that mini-conference, which wasn't supposed to be a conference, on August 8th. At the current moment, this team is very actively and collaboratively engaged. These are our esteemed partners, and they are in the process of working on meticulously designing the state-of-the-art gondola for the Nova 2 airship, which is a highly advanced 2,000 cubic meter airship. We are currently at the sketch project stage. Overall, as planned, everything is connected and working. They even sent us the first designs of these gondolas, showing how everything is coming together. It's not just that we told them to do it and they are doing it. Naturally, we had worked out these external appearances, all calculated mass and weight summaries. The entire energy system of the airship was calculated, even the dynamics, aerodynamics, everything was calculated. In general, a whole array of initial data, and we provided it to the KBS MIA, and together with them, we formed the technical specifications for development. And just recently, during the preliminary design phase, they showed us the first designs. Once we haven't made them public yet, maybe we'll even share them in the chat today if we get a certain number of likes somewhere. We created a fun 3D scene where you can fully rotate the gondola, sit inside it, and view it from the inside and outside. Naturally, as one of the representatives from the Moscow Aviation Institute thoughtfully elaborated, well, you see, Krasotulkin drew this, but how are we actually planning to make it, as he thoughtfully elaborated further. And, in general, after Krasotulkin's work, we made a lot of adjustments, so overall, this model can be shared, but only if Pasha specifies the conditions.
Conditions? I'm thinking, yes, indeed, we're together likes then. Friends, let us see. In our group, we have these next generation airships, right? On the platform we contact. Let us try to gather at least 100 likes. The broadcast that's on the wall, there will be confusion again about where we are gathering likes for the broadcast on the wall. Above the broadcast, Sergey Shevchenko, you're definitely watching the broadcast. Please share it in the chats with this link, like we did during the final webinar. And indeed, we'll then send the information in the airship chat. By the way, our chat is currently called pre-launch. We should just rename it to project chat.
Yes, certainly. Definitely chat to project chat. By the way, I absolutely need to think more about it. Indeed, I feel like there's a story there. A story that...
So, this is about the airship Nova 2. Is it considered what AERONOVA is now? Yes, AERONOVA is currently in the process of being further enhanced and improved. AERONOVA is currently in development. We have launched and fully developed from a design perspective the airship Nova 01, which is 130 cubic meters. It is currently in the active phase, already in the final phase of production. All the components that could be purchased have been acquired. Everything that needed to be designed has been constructed. Everything that was designed and will be produced has been procured. And earlier, as I previously stated, I mentioned that we would launch it, take it to the air by the end of February, alas. The timelines are shifting to the right, but hopefully not for long. By mid-March, we should definitely be flying in the near future. We would like to do it at the beginning of March, and we will try.
Let's pause on this point once more. We have announced 4 flying devices, 4 airships, which were supposed to be made in different sizes as part of the project. So the first one is an airship, 17 meters, a drone, and it will be lifted into the sky in March, right?
Yes, as mentioned earlier, by the end of February, but now, yes, in March.
Great. So, I mean, it surprises me because when the project started, I personally didn't think that the pre-launch phase of our project would end with our first device already taking to the sky, and it's completely unmanned, fully developed by AERONOVA. And as Fyodor said, indeed, this is kind of a result because the space, the team, the production, what is it all for, as you can clearly see? For the airships to take off.
Well, in fact, yes, it turned out that what Sergey called the pre-launch was about whether the funds would be gathered or not, whether people would like the project or not, whether a team would be formed or not, and whether the first device would be assembled or not. And in fact, in reality, everything has absolutely come together, and all that's left is to undoubtedly take off, cut the ribbon, but we certainly have no doubts about that anymore. Besides MI, which I already mentioned, by the way, MI will not only provide us with this sketch, or rather the design, but also several other designs. And it's quite possible that everything could be made public on a competitive basis. Yes to vote.
Sergey, when you speak, you can't be heard. That's what I mean. So maybe, look, if you want to say something, I'll give you the microphone.
In addition to the fact that the Mayovskoye Experimental Design Bureau is working on the gondola, Naturally, the AERONOVA team of dedicated staff themselves, also 34 engineers, are working on the rest of the apparatus. This includes the airship's hull itself, the soft hull of the airship, its design, the design of all air gas systems, the tail assembly and control system. The power plant is entirely our responsibility, as well as the swivel transmission and the design of the propellers. The propellers will be in a ring, and we even had to take on the design of the propellers ourselves, as everything interestingly flows from one thing to another. If we start with, for example, what propellers are available on the market, the propellers debut, what kind of airship we will ultimately have, and what engine needs to be installed. And in general, this consensus led to the need to design the propeller in the end, and all these processes are underway, departments have been formed, and here's what has actually been done over the past 6 months. Working communications have been established among 35 people, who all understand what kind of device we are making, when they need to produce their part, and there is complete information exchange between them. They work in a unified information environment, all documents are accounted for, everything is structured, there are internal regulations like new documents on Google Drive, but we constantly duplicate them on local storage, how to use them, access rights are configured, chats are created, sub-chats are created, these are in Telegram. We have Google Drive, Telegram, and local storage. It turned out like this, the main interactions. Then we gather with the whole team, that is, the schedules. We have large setup meetings on Mondays. On Tuesdays, within the engineering center between me and the chief designers. On Wednesdays, they gather their department heads. Thursday and Friday are intensive work days, and most likely, this was one of the main things done, which got the team buzzing. And now the result will be an aircraft. As for the partners, you have already seen that we have already flown. We have flown in the stratosphere. These are partners like Denis Efremov from Stratonautics and partners like Arkady from Bauman Moscow State Technical University. Arkady is the executive director of the newly opened Student Engineering Center for Aeronautics at Bauman. In fact, Arkady has been engaged in this activity for a long time, but the official opening at Bauman, similar to the one at MAEI, is a student experimental design center. A similar one has opened at Bauman, dedicated to aeronautics, and Arkady is involved with us in the project. It's cool. What we saw flying? Yes, during this time, over 6 months, we flew into the stratosphere several times. We had a couple of peak launches. This was when we, together with Denis Efremov, launched, so to speak, payloads, future payloads. In fact, everyone is already aware, I've mentioned it 20 times, but I'll remind you once more. These are the payloads that are ultimately supposed to fly in the polar vortex and in general establish radio communication. So, there were a couple of peak launches where we tested this. Simultaneously, in close collaboration with Arkady, we were working on the development of the technology for producing our own envelopes for long drifting devices. We set up the production process, purchased the equipment, and successfully found the raw materials. As a result, we successfully obtained the first Russian small batch stratospheric envelopes and carefully tested them with 2 entire factory launches. We partially broadcasted them, as you know, you saw it. The first factory launch did not quite work out as expected. Well, it took off, but we brought it down in a controlled manner. The second went according to plan, and soon there will be a third final one, which we plan to release for long-term flight.
When will it be? Is it roughly clear now?
It was roughly understood that it would fall on February 22nd, 23, but one of the main launchers has a birthday and anniversary, so it will likely be postponed by another week. Yes, so expect it in the first days of March. Everyone is looking forward to the launch, and so are we.
I don't know if these are all the partners, but I also remember we talked about the clients.
Wait, from the partners. Everyone has always been interested in buying airships. Whoever builds first will sell first. The Dolgo-Prudninskoye Design Bureau of Automation in general is that Soviet airship construction that still remains from those times, which Nobel helped build, and they built airships, and now they are engaged in state orders for mooring systems. We signed a significant and comprehensive agreement on mutually beneficial joint activities with them, and we help them and they help us. In particular, we are currently testing an extensive range of various fabrics with them. We have collected a lot of fabrics available on the market during this time. Both Russian, Chinese, Taiwanese, Korean, and even American fabrics are included. All supposedly come with certificates and specifications, but we still need to recheck things like gas permeability, strength, tear resistance, weldability, and a lot more. And a fully equipped laboratory that operates according to GOST and all the guidelines is the only one here at DKBA, and DKBA is currently helping us, or rather has already helped us, to choose the main fabric for the airship Nova 01, and just recently they issued a conclusion, and we immediately started producing the shell for Nova 01. So everything came together, we have the fabric, and now for Nova 02, we are planning to purchase the specific fabric, so here's another partner, DKBA Rostec. Now, some other guys have sent a memorandum of understanding, but this time as potential clients. As clients, they are from another country, from the country of Kazakhstan. It's a well-known transportation company, and we don't plan to disclose their name at this moment yet, but in general, they plan to expand their activities significantly and broadly in the near future using airships. They are sending their cargo shipments in millions of tons, specifying where to and from, and in general, we are jointly developing a line of cargo unmanned airships with them, determining what kind of economics would suit them to start using them in total. And we are assessing whether it is possible to create such a thing at all, whether it is possible, and when it will be created naturally. That's what happened today. In fact, this has actually been continuously ongoing for a long time. Since the very beginning of the project, these guys called this a long process negotiations documents.
You say these are already clients. As far as I know from insider information, it's not just one. These are real companies that come to the office with whom negotiations are underway. For now, at this point in time, as I understand it, there are broad general agreements that we do not mention their names until we have something signed with them or unless they themselves agree to be used in our marketing, because we want to share.
There are several various demands for Nova 01, ranging from advertising to serious monitoring. There are several different potential interested parties currently involved in the process of consideration and evaluation before final decisions are made, but I don't want to announce them, nor do I want to sign anything with anyone until it has actually launched and completed its mission. That is, this airship theme was somewhat present in the market, so to speak, when you work a lot and end up burned out. Many airships were sold to various people they delivered, and the market got a bit exhausted. And you don't want to, stand in that same line and start talking about something that doesn't exist yet. Here it is, you see, it's flying, it's working, it exists, sort of everything. It's a completely different position, you see. There's one on Nova 01, on Nova 2.0, on Nova 8.0, on Nova 35.0, on Nova 60.0, and not just one or two. And each one needs its own. Fact, this is also a big job, and we have Viktor Vasilievich Morozov doing it. He collects the customers' wishes, so to speak, then brings them to the engineering center and says that the customers want it this way. The engineering center says it's not a flying saucer, but we'll try. Viktor Vasilievich clearly paves the way and indeed negotiates between what they want and what we can do. If it's definitely about the customers, it's up to him. We could have a separate webinar.
Yes, we really want to publish this information, but they definitely exist. As they say, maybe we will announce it at the first stage, but then there won't be a pre-launch stage.
Yes, here someone else reached out. Actually, as you may know, the information is open. We haven't signed with them yet, but both we and they want it. We just need to develop the right interaction with them. Neymash Roscosmos recently invited us and said they really want to participate in all stratospheric research, that is, in experiments. In fact, as it stands, indeed, as a matter of fact, at the moment, in reality, as things are, we are considering all options. We are currently conducting experiments. In fact, we are working on technologies. They want to participate with their payloads and see great potential in this work. And also on Nova 01, they have a very good plan, and there is even a plan for Nova 2. All of this is also related to monitoring and radio broadcasts in various ways for the needs of Roscosmos. It's extremely fascinating. We are trying to find some kind of eco-friendly, harmonious interaction with them. Well, I must say, in my opinion, it's truly and indeed absolutely great news that they are very much reaching out to hear from us.
It turns out that this is what we have, essentially speaking. In other words, in a manner of speaking, essentially the project begins, in essence, its first stage starts with having an established team, and in the initial phase there are various domains where this team actively and diligently conducts its multifaceted activities and operations. There are production facilities with equipment which were also purchased with funds already received from investors for the project. There is a large number of partners in community cooperation. These are quite well-known names in Russia, leaders in their respective fields, and these are definitely potential customers. Well, not even potential. These are indeed people who say, we will absolutely buy, just provide the device. I think these are starting positions that not everyone believed would happen, but at the same time, we are just beginning. I see that we are developing quickly, but at the same time, there are occasional news reports that airships have been launched over there and there. So we still need to move faster and faster. So Fedya, tell us, in 2025, what are our goals and objectives? Are we not perhaps falling behind other companies in terms of innovation and growth?
Well, if we consider this Russian saying that we take a long time to harness, but then travel fast, for the last 50 years we've been harnessing, then now we've taken off, it seems, compared to the others, because both Brin, Airlander, the Chinese and everyone else have been working on their projects for decades. In half a year we made a small device, and you will see it now. During this year, 2025, we will make Nova 2, and we will most likely lift it into the air already in 2025 to 2026. Maybe January or February, we'll see. Maybe even in December, it's not certain. We would like to launch it within a year, as we promised. We started the project, moved into the office in September, October, with the goal to launch it within a year. Most likely, in September, October, we will show a fully inflated, so to speak, not completed, but inflated shell, a standalone gondola that can be assembled, where you can already sit, and everything will most likely be operational. However, lifting it into the air this year at least, the Moscow Aviation Institute doesn't believe it at all, in any conceivable manner or form. He says, you gave us the task to develop, produce, and so on within a year. He says we would need 2 years. He says no, 1 year. Well, in general, we agreed with them that we will take on the main production ourselves. They firmly believe that we can absolutely do all this quickly, efficiently, and effectively. In general, as a matter of fact, we are doing it. This is for the year of 2025 regarding the devices. In terms of the devices, we actually...
So in the first year, the maximum plan is to already lift 2 out of 4 devices.
Conditionally, for the first year, yes, it turns out. We will likely make several units of 130 cubic drones, several modifications, let them fly, and we will probably make them for customers, for exhibitions, for some kind of show, and for advertising. If the device flies, perhaps we can increase it a little. Let's see. In fact, everything will be on a much larger and more expansive scale, which means that our capabilities for building and producing airships are not only increasing, but also evolving and improving every single month, every quarter, and even every year. And the more capabilities and additional means of production resources we acquire, the faster, naturally, we will be able to stamp out and modify these airships. And by summer it is planned and would be good if we have already finalized the land plot. We have already clearly and thoroughly understood that the land plot should face towards the airfield of some aerodrome, or ideally be part of an aerodrome. Naturally, on this land plot, we need to place, in a manner that is temporary, a structure for now. The project involves the construction of a large hangar, but it would be good to place a temporary structure for the assembly and testing of the Nova 01 130 cubic models. For now, there is a place to assemble and test the first ones, but in the future, it would be nice, and then use the same facility for welding and testing the Nova 2 shells. So, in the summer, we more or less understood what it is. It's a quickly erected pneumatic structure. Although it's called temporary, it actually has a lifespan of 5 to 10 years, no problem. It's quite adequate. A slab is poured underneath it, and this inflatable hangar is easily set up there, equipped with heat, water, electricity, and it's quite cheap, fast, and functional. By summer, it would be ideal to have this done, and we will most likely do it. We would like to do it earlier. We'll see. And in it, we are already producing the first modification of the new 130, Nova 01, almost completed. In it, we will be able to stamp out a few more modifications, and there we will independently weld the shell of Nova 2 slightly. So, by the summer season, we will have a cutting and welding workshop and a small testing facility, which will initially be used for testing the 130 and later for the pneumatic testing of the Nova 2 shell in the upcoming months, by summer.
Are any additional spaces being rented for this?
We need to finalize the land issue here. Either it will be leased land from some airfield, or it will be leased land near some city.
And currently, is there active work being done regarding the land where all this will be located?
Yes, specific airfields are being considered both in the nearby Moscow region and outside of it. We are looking at the proposed conditions. We have also developed an understanding of the temporary necessity, well, not temporary, more precisely, basis for welding the shells, because there were, let's say, hopes and illusions before the project launch. Those hopes and illusions were shattered, but reality remains, and the hopes have also faded. Now, there are concrete plans without hopes. Just an overall implementation plan. That's how the development of the Nova 8 airship began. It has a volume of approximately 8,000 cubic meters. If it's a passenger tourist version, it can carry 19 people, or it can transport 2 tons over a couple of thousand kilometers if it's a cargo version, which is larger, faster, and more interesting. And most importantly, as I often emphasize, I consistently mention that all airships are essentially just balloons with propellers if the control system doesn't manage the balloon. We have made significant progress in creating the control system, both for the onboard system, which we don't need to purchase from anywhere else, as no one develops it for us. We have developed it entirely from scratch ourselves, as well as the ground-based dispatch and control complex, for a single device and a swarm of devices with all interfaces. Only a few companies in the entire world can boast of having such a program, and they sell it at an exceptionally high price. We would never be able to obtain it due to international sanctions, but our country specifically is under sanctions. The fact that we managed to accomplish such a tremendous amount of work in just 6 months truly speaks volumes about the incredible team we have assembled and all the internal interactions.
If I understand correctly, about 4 months ago, we had a video with Milad, one of the people involved.
When it was all just beginning, yes.
Yes, when Milad was still drawing the first diagrams on the board, and we thought we should tell you, those who are following the project, what is happening. So we interviewed him back then, and he explained some of the basics. Of course, a lot has changed since then, and it was a very simplified scheme. But it's great that what we filmed with Milad back then has now actually grown into something serious.
Yes, it's absolutely fascinating and exciting to film and capture moments and grow, and that's what we do. This is about who else we interact with. The management system helps us work together collaboratively with the Bauman Institute in an efficient manner. The system helps us work together collaboratively with Lomonosov Moscow State University, and the management system helps us work together collaboratively with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and effectively, almost officially. What's most amusing in this regard is that all the IT specialists work just upon request. They simply help the project. They said, wow, a dirigible, of course we'll do it. While we keep an eye on this process, everyone really likes it, let them work. Thank you very much for their help. We are moving forward by leaps and bounds. And in the laboratory, there are about 8 directions underway, including the power unit, which will be tested on the Nova 8. It is being actively developed, and there are also many industrial partners emerging, already involved, but we haven't told you yet about the power unit. We are keeping all this a secret until it starts working. Although during the webinar with Arkady, this unit was peeking out a little behind him in the background, so you can re-watch the webinar about the stratosphere and try to guess what it might be a bit more, if you wish, at your convenience, and see for yourself. This year we did promise to talk about it. This year the unit itself at 300 kilowatts runs on fuel. Its efficiency is similar to that of a diesel internal combustion engine, maybe even more efficient. So this year at 300 kilowatts nominally and 400 in short but quite prolonged modes, this unit will already be on the stand and tested, most likely by mid-autumn, we hope earlier. But the design has already been fully completed, and the initial stage of production and main essential components has begun, as well as the procurement process of what can be purchased, and our big supportive Chinese brother is helping us tremendously a lot. In fact, the Chinese counterparts have advanced quite far, which was indeed surprising to everyone. Of course, this installation requires an electric generator. Anyway, details. It will be very interesting, and I will tell you more later. About the stratosphere, plans for the stratosphere, we still plan to launch this orbital group, and these plans have not gone anywhere. Right now, we are doing the final launch, and based on the refined launch, we are starting to produce a series of these devices. Also, in that webinar with Arkasha, I talked about it. We have, so to speak, planned development specifically in terms of load capacities and the technologies used. By summer, yes, there should be a qualitative leap, and many are expecting this leap from us. What we are doing now is already very interesting to them, and even more interesting is what we will achieve in the end, and we will do it. Regarding what will happen in the laboratory over the year, there will be many important developments related to airships. When the large envelope is in the hangar, you need to find a helium leak. Hypothetically, but it's not an obvious hole where it's leaking from. It could be a small defect in the weld seam. So how do you find it? There are a number of proposals, and they are already being put into work and development. Onboard advanced helium purification systems. This is also a state-of-the-art laboratory project, and it will be completed this year. Previously, due to operational pressure, air would still get into the envelope, and helium would escape from the envelope efficiently and safely. And the helium concentration can drop 5 to 10% annually, depending on material. We will monitor and address this. But in general, the fact that helium in the envelope gets contaminated is undeniable, and if it carries a ton and suddenly can lift 100 kilograms less, it's not a big deal. However, if it carries 10 tons and can lift a ton less, that's quite alarming. All this helium needs to be unloaded, purified, and reloaded back. It's quite a lengthy procedure, and the laboratory with Artem, Denis, and actually another person and others, there's a whole team working there, but these two are officially involved in the process. They are engaged in the production and, more precisely, the laboratory development of a variety of onboard helium purification systems, which are essential for the efficient functioning of the equipment. There are already several different concepts. Everything is currently being purchased and actively produced. There are also a number of various projects related to changing buoyancy. Denis heats it, and it will lift even more than it did before. And so heating, which has been used for centuries in various forms, is an ancient method. However, ionizing helium is where all this is headed in the future. This approach is much easier to regulate, and you can instantly change buoyancy, which is a significant advantage. It's a very experimental direction, with many challenges and potential breakthroughs, but this year the guys working on it promise to deliver some tangible results. We'll see what comes of it, and whether it can revolutionize the field. Well, there are also a number of parallel directions, and for this impact ionization, the production of power supply units has begun. It turns out that these power supplies are needed in the industry. There is a huge demand for them in the industry, and they are in short supply. If our company can bring such a product to the market this year, we can say the laboratory has reached self-sufficiency.
That's the truth, certainly, indeed. Good news. And the communication system.
Naturally.
You kind of skimmed over it, but it's actually very important, very interesting. The fact that we have these, let's say, how to properly call them, departments or parts of the project, each responsible for its own direction, essentially means that each of them can and should be in a commercial state.
And for us, it can't be any other way indeed, yes. If we are talking about the entire industry, then every small direction within the industry must be efficient and naturally self-sustaining. There will be some subsidized directions in any case, and most often this is related to science and things like that. You see, Americans know how to commercialize science, which is good. But yes, every direction should become self-sustaining, and Ruslan with production will achieve that, and I think you've already been able to understand and appreciate this. The helicopters they designed, yes.
I wanted to ask about that. You've already said A, right? Now you need to say B.
You've said A. As for saying B, the helicopters are designed. There are already single units. They are flying. They are stationed in Zhukovsky. There are 60 pre-orders for these helicopters. And beyond that, it's just a matter of desire. And copters, right? We'll soon enough show the quadcopter. The quadcopter is at the moment being tested, and in general, if we put all this into production, we'll have to manufacture most of these elements anyway. If there is a ready product and there is demand for it, then it's not the main direction. And it's not like, oh, airships and helicopters and quadcopters, no. The projects are indeed airship related, but within the framework of a large airship, for instance, our company will still face the need to attach quadcopters to the airship as micro-drones, and additionally large delivery drones and propeller-driven helicopter groups will be used. And it's good that we already have it completely developed, but if it can certainly be profitable by producing it, why not consider it?
This topic really excites me as well. I think it's absolutely fascinating and interesting. We'll see what it turns into. I'm really very interested indeed.
The plan, of course, is to certainly also move production this year in order to accommodate their needs, because they are currently operating on 300 square meters, and another 300 square meters are used as a cold hangar where drones are tested. They fly there. The ceilings are impressively high, creating a sense of openness and grandeur, but there is nothing else in the space, leaving it quite bare. We have a substantial area of 300 square meters available, which is sufficient to construct one gondola for the innovative Nova 2 airship. However, ideally, we would prefer the production area to be more spacious than the current office space, which is only half the size of the desired area. This would allow for more efficient production processes and better accommodation of equipment and personnel. General, on the surface, there are plenty of plans, a lot of work. We're all buzzing.
Yes, we absolutely need to put down these things that we have to explain ourselves every time.
Well, actually, already.
It's formed because before nothing existed.
Yes, now it can even be condensed like this. Pavel Igorevich also plans to create a media department that will release all of this. We are making great strides towards this.
So, once again, in general, in just an hour, we endeavored to effectively and concisely convey to you as much relevant information as possible in an hour, compressing the amount of information that exists. Firstly, what was done during the pre-launch phase, and to explain how the project will essentially begin, starting from March 4th. We have the first phase of March. Yes, that's correct. And throughout 2025, as you have heard, there are even more plans. They are very ambitious, and I'm sure that even now, if we consider it, someone might think, well, that's a lot. Yes, it's definitely a lot, but it's absolutely possible. And even if we achieve half of it, I think it will be a huge breakthrough. But that's just my opinion. I hope we manage to do everything. But as for the first device, we are all waiting. And I am also sure that as soon as you see the first airship, the belief in the project will increase 10, 100 times. Because it's one thing to show pictures, one thing to just believe, and another thing, as they say, to see this airship.
In fact, major clients and renowned, prestigious and well-respected ones come because of the names of the highly skilled and experienced engineers who work with us, such as the esteemed Boris Alexandrovich Ivchenko, Vadim Vasilyevich Zubkevich, Dmitry Sergeyevich Kemel, and others. These are people with such surnames and credentials that are highly respected in the right circles. So our project is incredibly fortunate. Yes, that they are with us and we are together, yes, doing everything.
Meanwhile, we were asked a lot of questions. I asked for questions from all platforms, and they just send them to my personal messages, and they are really to the point, so I would like to answer them. Let me start reading them out, and then we'll see who will answer what. First, regarding the need for balloons in the military sector that lift various combat elements and other related equipment into the stratosphere, which are essential for modern warfare to achieve strategic advantages and enhance operational capabilities. Generally speaking, in general, how much significant amount are we looking in this direction now? Or are we only focusing on civilian sectors at this point in time?
Only civilian personnel are involved. This is more of a political question for us, as it pertains to the preservation and continuation of the entire project, which is international in scope and significance. The airship is designed as a peaceful and non-aggressive mode of transport, as it were, intended to foster global cooperation and understanding.
Everything is clear. Please state the likelihood of an internal exchange emerging in the first half of the year. This relates to the question about the Duyunov engine project. Look, we can't talk about a specific month when the funding for the project will be completed of the Duyunov engine or the Sovelmash project. But at the same time, we're talking about the year 2025. So 2025 should be a pivotal year here because, first of all, it seems like it already is. Dmitry mentioned Alexander Duyunov. And Sergey Semenov said that one of the main goals for Sovelmash is to achieve self-sufficiency and profitability, right? Yes, accordingly, this indicates that investments, the companies, will also not require it, and when the funding stops, we will open the internal exchange. So our goal for 2025 is for all these events to happen, and they are all interconnected. Talking the first half of the year or a specific month, I can't promise it now. But 2025. We are committed to ensuring that all of these plans and objectives are successfully implemented. The pre-launch conditions, which are crucial for our success, will remain in effect until March 4th, starting from this moment. Yes, starting from March 5th, the conditions for the first stage of funding will double for us. So, if you know about the project today and you like it, just like the thousands of other investors already do, you can still participate under the current terms. Is a visit to the production facility planned for investors? I would even expand on what they are asking about. Here are the flights. Yes, the airship. Now the first one will take off. Are we going to invite investors to these events?
Yes, of course we will. I think we'll throw a celebration for each flight. Everyone who can
Come over. We will have a whole ice field. So in general, we will announce these events. Yes, in principle, we can invite anyone who wants to come. It's not a super secret thing at all. So, what proportion will the shares change to? Potential investors want a clear answer. Sergey, you're talking about the numbers today, and also, we talked before the start of the webinar about the number of shares, about everything that was said at the beginning of the project, about this mathematics. I understand everything is still in place and adds up, right?
Yes. First of all, we worked on this story in the previous project and in this one as well. Basically, it doesn't really matter what the ratio is. The main thing is that it remains its percentage relative to the total, but how they will change or how many there will be, that's not important. About that, what you asked is a slightly different question. How many shares have we sold at this stage? Roughly speaking, how much do we have left to earn?
I'm looking at it. There are still a few questions about the shares, their quantity. Are they diluted?
No. Did you all calculate everything correctly? We designated about 50 billion shares, and we also included another aspect in that. We're not going to go into detail about it right now, but if something suddenly changes, it is quite possible that it may be that we will simply be from the saved portion of the shares. He will just focus more on that, meaning there won't be any dilution and there won't be an increase in the number of shares if it's at the expense of additional shares given away. If it will be at the expense of additional shares given away. Shares. Right now, at this moment, simply to remind you, as a gentle reminder, 9-1 will be reserved. This is part of various smoothness situations if only financing is needed, just more companies, more investment.
But overall, the math is all preserved. Specifically, I think we have 50 billion shares for 500 million stocks, which makes it 1 to 10, if I'm not mistaken. That is the conversion rate, the number of shares, the number of stocks, the number of stages, everything that was announced is 20 each. We have financing, everything is still in place. And everything here remains unchanged. Well, great. So, the question about the internal exchange is coming up again. Is it safe to upload information to Google Drive? Should we use domestic alternatives? Yes, everything is duplicated.
Yes, I said everything is duplicated. Yes, Google.
If Google Drive will be blocked by Roskomnadzor, we already have all the solutions. We have everything for that. Everything is, of course, duplicated both on the internal and on the domestic platforms, as you say, but the fact is that Google is more convenient. There are a lot of cool services there, documents, spreadsheets, presentations, and everything else. But at the same time, we are actually moving away from not just any cloud solution. Specifically, in the PLM solution T-Flex, it will probably take about a year for that. Yes, it can completely eliminate the need to use Google.
Well, and probably it's duplicated somewhere else too, right? Not just on Google, but Disney. Yes. About the commercials, they will be in different languages. There will be videos longer than 5 minutes and films, and all translated into all languages.
Doing something. Yeah, I think that means we should do it then, right?
I hope, Sergey, it was audible. Even this video we showed will be in many languages. So, for personal use, will you be doing something like for families? Approximately 60 people.
Well, yes, here we need to. In general, to understand the form factor of a dirigible, it's probably like a yacht. That's the one by the sea, where they go to Tamara. Yes, the whole family can fit there, and they can fit there peacefully. and they relax and travel, yes, most likely. In that format, we can and should.
If you're asking about whether we will become shareholders of Aeronaut, and if your application has been processed, please write to support, and they will try to find your request. You know, a lot of work was done on this. They tried to find everyone. Maybe you sent something to the wrong place, so please write to support. So, three questions for Sergey Semenov. The first course question is about children's packages. Will there be packages for kids? Well, we have them in Duyunov's engines, but not in AERONOVA.
Well, we'll do it because we have all the tools. We launched this project, and everything that has taken root with us in this we will do.
Is it possible to add shares to the total amount of your package without notarizing it after the shares are issued? The question is not very clear, but it seems to me that if you have several investment packages, is it possible to somehow overlap them?
I don't give a toll, I didn't understand. And if this, indeed, perhaps.
Yes, if you have several investment packages, you will just end up with a total set of shares, combining them into stocks, and you'll have just a total number of shares. Is it possible to transfer some of your shares to a children's package? In December 2025 or in 2026, will investors be able to travel? So we have 4 questions, it turns out. Is it possible to transfer some shares to a children's package? Look, Sergey replies that, as Sergey said, they simply don't exist yet, so it's not possible for now. In the future,
You can do it yourself.
it's a technical point. Well, accordingly, when, in general, the first airship will fly, will investors perhaps be able to fly on these airships as one of the first?
There are no decisions yet at this very specific point in time. The testers will indeed be among the first to travel by air there. And if they can't, they can't.
I understand. The next question is, investors can, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's exactly what they're asking, whether this will happen and what to do about the promise that has already been made.
After everything is certified, permissions are obtained, and the pilots are trained. All the testers are alive. And everything else, of course, that's super cool. How do we establish a community in general, of course? Looking at the fruits of your participation, it's really absolutely wonderful. What's indeed happening there? Going to Lupsu and Lumashno, you just walk in circles, and you're just doing this simply for no reason. It's unpleasant.
So the next question. So in the airship, when the number of people is indicated in the unmanned version, considering the absence of a pilot, when all passengers will be as indicated. Is the loading plan to involve a person? That's the question. I understand that this is exactly in the unmanned version.
With the involvement of a person, most likely, yes. It will initially be mechanized. Loading and unloading will require a person. In the future, it's quite robotic, but that's already with a fairly extensive development. Specifically, transport and logistics direction. So initially it's too expensive and unnecessary. And later, when they are flying everywhere a lot, there will be automation. Yes, it will be implemented.
So the AERONOVA company will provide transportation services or just sell the equipment?
Well, yes, we initially said that this would be a large group of companies. Holding companies, most likely. Not services, sales, operation and repair, and maintenance development.
Why is it like this? But regarding what we've talked about today, several times, all the mathematicians, the math that was initially declared, 20 stages. And for each stage, there's a range of amounts that will be involved, as Sergey said, from 1.5 to 5. And accordingly, we understand at each stage how much will be involved next. In general, all the math adds up here. So they are asking about Alexander Nikolaevich Kirillov, how his death will affect the project. We need to change everything.
Naturally, everyone became sad. because he was a good person, a good designer. And yes, he has merits in starting the project. We got to know about airships through him. But the team that is currently assembled, it's quite independent and can implement any airship project. We're all sad about Alexander Nikolaevich, but the airship is safe.
What size will the new 130 be?
So I saw this question coming. I can send it right now. A small sketch, overall view. This is called the new 130. In the Telegram chat, so you can go in now and take a look.
Okay. Will there be a feature for early repayment of the installment plan? For now, it's not worth it for the trip, but I admit that we will. Encourage and pay off the installments early. Why? Yes, because in this project, the installments stretch for as long as 50 months. So, as Sergey said, it's quite a large amount of money. Right now, there are installments that people need to pay off, but they are stretched over 3 to 5 years. And that's why the monthly amount isn't that high. It's a lot, as it might seem at first when you see that over $10 million are in installments. That's why we will encourage people to pay faster. Maybe we've already discussed this, and perhaps the term will be shortened, meaning to 50 months. Over time, such long installment plans as we have now won't be offered anymore, right? For the Duyunov engines, you can no longer get an installment plan for 20 or 30 months because the project is nearing completion. The maximum installment plan is 10 months. The logic here will be exactly the same. And the last question, as I understand it, is how many spots are left on the list of the first 5,000 investors AERONOVA, $5,000 for investors AERONOVA? This is about the club. I'll say right away that I don't have this information. I know that the club is filling up, and it's filling up honestly. We have so-called founders clubs, a layer of the group, the first investors who come into our projects. We have 1,000 club and 100 club, each club you can get into. If you become a member of this club, you will receive favorable conditions for future investments, receive a personal manager, and many other privileges that will stay with you forever, like strawberries. So, if you want to become a member of the 100 and 1,000 clubs, reach out to technical support. They'll give you the full rundown on what you need to do and whether there are still spots available. We ran out of places in our first project, I think, about a year in advance. Here, most likely it will happen faster, but in the next few months, the spots should probably be filled up by now. So keep that in mind. So I have no more questions. I think we can wrap it up. Colleagues, thank you very much. I was looking at different platforms to see how people are watching us. There were a lot of viewers. I'm glad you find the topic interesting. The questions are also interesting and relevant. I hope we provided you with all the necessary information.
100 likes.
Yeah, about the 100 likes.
Let's check.
Yeah, I'm just looking. There was a bit of confusion here because I said to leave likes in one place, and I see that the partners are already spreading them out in another place. In general, yeah, there was a little mix-up here, but I see that they've just piled up the likes in the sort group.
Yeah, I'm currently writing an explanation, and I'll say it out loud as well. I'm sending it now. The overall view of the new 011 30 cubic airship, this is not how the area will look. In the end, the overall view is its main geometric, conditionally speaking, dimensions. This is, without design and other things, this is the very first step in the development of the airship, defining its overall appearance, which is influenced by calculations, aerodynamics, and other layout considerations. So don't pay attention to the design.
Can you believe it? VKontakte changed its design, and I still can't get used to it. I can't open the stream to check the number of likes. Well, colleagues, let's do it this way. In any case, let's see how many likes there will be. And as soon as we see that on this stream, even if it's not live, more than 100 likes, let's say, Fedor and Fedor will send them. But I see 42 likes, 8 reposts. We need to go inside because that's where people are really getting involved. Yeah, because inside people are leaving likes. On va contacter.
In the interest of fairness, let's take a look. In vContacte, in the group holding the pancakes, in the official group there. But it's sad that no one wants to see the gondola, so guys.
So click here, you can't see here, you can't see the whole thing, but
If over time the likes pile up, perhaps we'll see, like,
yeah, it's so stylish that we can wrap it up like this in the end. What I wanted or made plans for the next stage. I want to express my deep gratitude so much to everyone for actively getting involved in this information space, in the vacuum of chaos. Despite everything else that's happening in the world, I still believe in this little island of hope. Like with positivity. There are prospects, something interesting, so join in. If you haven't already, stay tuned. Here's the series. Sovelmash Group, Part 6, continues in a minute. See you later. Then, probably right before the start of the next stage, we'll probably go live one more time. We'll go live. Here's the announcement. All right, wishing everyone all the best. Goodbye, everyone.